Welcome to Tech Blueprint, a window that lets you know the latest technology news in the world. Over the past 2 days, the Kuala Lumpur negotiations have reassured global markets. US officials have clearly stated that they will no longer consider imposing 100% tariffs on China. When this statement was clearly conveyed by US Treasury Secretary Benson, the world breathed a sigh of relief. The reason is simple: fluctuations in trade between the two major powers, China and the United States, will indirectly affect the economic development of all countries worldwide. What hidden threads are behind Trump's decision to no longer consider imposing 100% tariffs on China, thus avoiding a potential table-turning scenario? Why has the usually assertive US suddenly shifted its strategy? In a conference room in Malaysia, the Chinese and US delegations at the negotiating table resembled two chess masters, weighing every move carefully. Fentanyl precursor chemicals, rare earth export controls, and shipping tariffs, these three cards were laid out on the table, and everyone knew there was a larger game at play. Catherine Greer of the Office of the US Trade Representative put it bluntly: China has reached agreements on a number of thorny issues. This may sound like diplomatic rhetoric, but a closer look reveals that the so-called agreement is actually a compromise reached by both sides making concessions. China agrees to strengthen regulations on fentanyl-related chemicals, and the United States will ease export restrictions on semiconductor equipment and AI chip design tools. If China guarantees that rare earth supply will not be choked, the United States will have to retract its previous 100% tariffs on China. At first glance, this deal seems fair, but a closer look reveals something amiss. Fentanyl regulation is, frankly, a sideshow in the drug war, while semiconductor equipment and AI tools are strategic high ground in the technological war. Trading sideshows for core assets is a win-win for China, no matter how you look at it. The negotiations over shipping tariffs were more like haggling at a market. Representatives from both sides wielded calculators, calculating shipping costs and wrangling over a few percentage points. But when the joint statement stated, adjustments to shipping tariffs will help restore supply chain stability, the container ships stuck in the port could finally celebrate. As for Trump's previous threat to impose a 100% tariff on Chinese goods, citing Beijing's export controls on critical rare earths, and his sudden cancellation, the reason is simple. If a 100% tariff on Chinese goods were truly imposed, the United States would be the first to collapse. Forget about our reciprocal tariff retaliation. If the prices of Chinese goods, which the US purchases in large quantities, rise due to tariffs, how much will the price increases at Walmart supermarkets be? When that happens, the impact of tariffs on US inflation will likely skyrocket. Not to mention US tech companies, from Tesla to Apple to Nike, which will likely have to foot the bill for Trump's tariffs. So, the other side's no longer considering this time simply means they've begun to acknowledge reality. After decades of globalized trade, the US wants to decouple and disrupt supply chains in the short term, and then build a supply chain system that can replace China. Even Trump, let alone China, is going to do that. Even a god couldn't come up with it. Additionally, with China's rare earth controls tightening further, the other side must sit down and have a serious discussion with China to resolve its own problems. As for the validity and duration of the agreement, these were never considered. It can be signed today, but reneged on tomorrow. With the interests of both parties diverging, the constraints of the so-called agreement are very limited. It can only be said that everyone has found a middle ground, and the general direction of the future remains unchanged. The most exciting part of this game is undoubtedly the battle between rare earths and chips. China holds the rare earth trump card, while the United States only holds semiconductor technology. Everyone knows that each side needs its own products, so every word at the negotiating table is a test of the other side's bottom line. History shows that trade frictions between China and the United States have never been resolved overnight. From the first round of tariff wars in 2018, to the Phase 1 agreement in 2020, to the repeated back and forth over the past 2 years, each de-escalation has hidden deeper strategic considerations. Technology blockades, supply chain restructuring, and industrial transfer, these grand chess games cannot be shaped by just 1 or 2 negotiations. While a preliminary consensus was reached in this round of negotiations, many details remain unresolved. The US side stated that the final decision rests with the president, China's side. They also emphasized the need to follow domestic procedures. As for the final outcome, we'll have to wait for official data to be released. What is certain is that this negotiation did ease market tensions and provide reassurance to businesses and consumers. However, in the long run, structural contradictions between China and the United States remain. Technological competition, industrial competition, and other deep-seated issues cannot be resolved with just 1 or 2 rounds of negotiations. The real test may yet lie ahead. The APEC leaders meeting will be held in Gyeongju, South Korea, from the end of October to November 1st, with the theme of connectivity, innovation, and prosperity. China and the United States already have a tradition of arranging high-level contacts during APEC. There may be further progress at the China-US meeting. Globally, this cooling trend is already impacting 2 price curves: pricing expectations for the rare earth industry chain related to electronics, fans, and motors, and logistics cost expectations for trans-Pacific shipping routes. If the framework is implemented, rare earth prices will not skyrocket due to concerns about export restrictions, and shipping will not experience a scramble for space due to sudden tariff increases. For countries that haven't yet declared inflation is under control, this will be a welcome surprise. Looking back on the entire game, China's move was a brilliant one. Fentanyl was a pawn that laid the foundation for negotiations between the 2 sides. Rare earths have been exchanged for high-end technology, while shipping has jumped out of the fence, each doing its own thing. When the global supply chain has become a tangled mess, China and the United States have suddenly become 2 hands pulling the strings together. Greer said, "These consensuses will ease the trade tensions plaguing global markets." In plain English, whoever overturns the table is exacerbating global trade tensions. As for how long this halftime break will last, no one knows. But what is certain is that both China and the United States have achieved their desired results this time. The US is no longer considering 100% tariffs on Chinese goods is both a constant and a variable, marking the beginning of a reversal in the external situation.